Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me, and I hope you all can hear me well and also see the slide that I'm sharing. Can someone confirm?
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Yes, sir.
Good. All right, great. So first of all, my apologies. I have another meeting that starts at about in 15 minutes from now, so I will have to be brief in this presentation. See, I mean, as you probably most of the students here know, I mean, you are all, the child of the digital generation. So you have probably, used to all these gadgets that are already out there. But just to track back a bit, if you look at the history of mobile communication, it started out as an analog voice in 1981. And from there onwards, we have come a long way. So the 2G voice is basically what you could do with a voice and simple data, otherwise known as SMS. 3G was pretty much around the early inroads of mobile broadband. But all these are history. I think the one that you are pretty much used to is what is generally known as the 4G or the LTE technology, which gave birth to the smartphone and the app ecosystem and the corresponding things that came away from that, which is all the SMAC presence, which is social media, cloud, analytics, and all of that. Acronyms were born in this 4G era, and that is what we are all experiencing. And what we would experience in probably the next 5 to 10 years is generally what is known as 5G. And 5G is already here, and it's already happening around the world. It's been there for almost last 22 months. So there are about 138 operators who are already offering 5G services around the world, not in India yet. And there are about 703 devices that are already available, and about 15% of the world population already has access to 5G. That includes major part of China, hence you see the big jump. And then there is a lot of 5G traffic. So if you come to India specifically, we actually started off 5G to happen pretty early. As you can see the news scrolls here. We started the 5G journey in India in 2018, and then the pandemic hit. So the government put a brake on that in a way. And then now we are restarting the 5G journey in India. And as you can see from the news article here, just day before yesterday, Airtel has already launched its 5G trial system in India. And that is already live in the NCR area in Delhi, and that's in Gurgaon. So fundamentally, if you look at what 5G brings outside of the existing analog or the existing communication network that you have, is it basically gives a huge amount of capacity in terms of bandwidth, which means right now you are used to receiving speeds of maybe 10 Mbps or 20 Mbps and so on your mobile devices. But 5G is expected to give you like 10 times the speed. So you can expect something like 100 Gbps and 200 Gbps and even up to gigabit speeds in your mobile devices itself. And there is this thing around latency, which is basically about the time you make a request and the time you get a response. How long does it take for you to receive any service? That generally defines latency. In the case of 5G, it's expected to be far too low. So hence, it basically drives a lot of new use cases, especially the things around automotive, gaming, smart homes, and all of this would be benefiting from the lower latency that 5G offers. Reliability is another aspect of 5G where the network is available and accessible all the time. And then the security that whatever you transact over the network is unhackable, and that people cannot eavesdrop into it and so on. The recent pandemic over the last 1 year plus has shown us the importance of communication network. Actually, I remember about 2.5 years ago, I did a faculty development program for SRM in Katangurattur, but at that time I was in a business meeting, so I had to do this over a video conference, and it was very strange for most of the people to attend that over a video conference at that time. But now, if I were to do the same, I think they will all feel very, at place with it. I mean, that's what the pandemic has shown us, to adapt and evolve, and the importance of the communication system during these times. And there is credible evidence to show that communication technology has become a very important infrastructure service for any country, not just India, and for any country. It has become as important as having electricity, water, road, and so on. And that's why there is also a lot of government push in terms of creating this infrastructure. So with 5G, what do you actually expect to happen? There are a lot of consumer-driven use cases that will happen in the 5G area. Much of that will start with. So if I were to start from the far left on the screen, which is automotive, which is starting with autonomous cars, or 5G in a car, in terms of having entertainment in a car, or streaming videos in a car, or having augmented reality information appearing on the car windows, and so on. So there is a time frame which is also given. So we expect some of these services to come in about 4 years time from now. Entertainment is actually one major industry that would get revolutionized with 5G, mainly because of the huge bandwidth it offers. Gaming and VR is another industry that will also go through a lot of changes. And then the shopping experience that you are used to will also change. I mean, you would be able to virtually put on a glass, walk into an Amazon store virtually, or any other kind of store, and then pick up objects virtually and try them out, and all of that. So this is all, there are lots of prototypes and trials that are going on. Unfortunately, I can only talk about what I can talk about in a public domain. So, but a lot of things are happening in this. Now, why is all this so important? So what is all this is causing is that there's a lot of business ecosystem work that is going on, which is going to create a whole load of opportunities to come. New jobs will open up, new type of jobs will open up. So it's not just the operators or the communication industry which is going to be affected by this. It's also a lot of adjoining industries that will get changed with this approach. And what we see as the digital transformation that's already happening and accelerated by the pandemic will actually have more play as it goes through. If you look at the industries area, 5G will drive a lot of changes in the industry. So we will see anything from smart metering, asset management, and also a lot of work towards traffic and safety, and a lot of things around what is generally known as Industry 4.0, which is about smart manufacturing, logistics, and control. And all of this will actually happen in the IoT evolution. The speaker before me talked about how the ECE courses can actually be specialized with different domains, and you could see that, and you will resonate with some of this I'm talking about here in terms of how IoT could actually play a role, or how AR VR will actually play a role, or how AI ML will actually play a role. So you can see what you learn from there would actually become quite in demand already in about two years onwards from now. So that's the speed at which the industry is happening. But of course, the industry doesn't do all this stuff for fun, and everything is driven by business. So if you look at the business potential for just 5G alone, you can see that runs into a few $billion across the world. And you can see that APEC, which is actually at the top of the graph here, represented by the turquoise green. And that actually has a very significant portion in terms of the revenue that 5G would generate. Now, why is this important? Because revenue is the indicator of the opportunities that will get created. And that also means jobs, because for any industry to create jobs, there has to be a huge amount of business potential for that industry. So what we see generally is that the communication industry is not just becoming indispensable infrastructure, it is also becoming a major growth engine for the world and definitely for India as well. So we see great opportunities going ahead in this. And so what happens is, so what kind of career options? Okay, if you study communication engineering, what are the things that you could potentially do? I think this some of these were already covered in the previous presentation. So it's just the tip of the iceberg, as I would like to call it, because we are not still covering everything there. So a career in radio and antenna design, like this is the fundamental for the mobile communication system, and radio access technology, which is like, okay, how would you do modems and chips and all that? How would you design mobile networks and roll them out? Installation of those various base stations that you see, operating those wide networks that you have. That's what we generally cover under the network operations. Integrating the various elements within this, then IoT device development in terms of both the hardware aspect of it and as well as the software aspect of it. And semiconductor design is a very important area when it comes to the evolution of mobile technology, and that's where a core sector like electronics and communication engineering actually plays a major role. We're also looking at huge career options in things to do with network virtualization, skill sets in AI and ML, and anything that is software defined, starting from architecture to implementation, will be in demand as we progress for another decade of this. And AR, VR, which is augmented reality, virtual reality, and X reality is actually, and the related application design that you could do in those areas is something that is, that will become a very viable career option. Industry 4.0 solution, which is generally around, smart factories, smart logistics, and all of that. So this, as I said, is just, the tip of the iceberg. What I have not covered here is how communications will affect other industries. Like, for example, if we take car manufacturing, how would car manufacturing get changed with Industry 4.0? How will you embed advanced communication technologies in a car? All this, so basically the need for communication engineers in automobile engineering will actually become quite relevant as well. And that's where some of the interdisciplinary courses, which the previous speaker talked about, is also quite relevant. So these are all, the potential career option. And as I said, there is huge amount of business opportunity, which will drive these career options as well. And all this will be, up for taking once you choose to have a career in communication engineering. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. I'm at the end of the time here. So I would just like to go back and see if there are any quick questions that I can answer before I kind of, leave the meeting with your permission. You're on mute, yeah.
Just give us a quick minute or two. I'm just checking on the questions. I request friends to very quickly post any questions that you would like to have Mr. Chandrasekaran to get it addressed. Sir, I just have one question here. With a lot of uncertainty now due to this pandemic situation, how promising would you think the industry opportunities would be going forward?
I think it would actually be very promising. I mean, as I said, if there is something the pandemic has shown us is the importance of doing everything remote, including this meeting that we are attending, right? And then, for you to do anything remote, the foundation is the mobile communication technology. So I would say pandemic or no pandemic, the need for mobile communication has never been greater. But then what we also see is that, as I already shown, 5G will basically change quite a lot of the digital transformation that is already starting to happen. So what we will see is that more and more industries will start to do more automation, and they will also start to do a lot more in terms of accelerating the transformation they have done. So I have no doubt that this is just a passing, and the growth will come back to us pretty soon. And when it comes back, it's going to come back so fast and so vast that that it's going to, if anything, I expect it to be overwhelming for us to deliver. So I think that's my expectation.
Thank you so much, sir, for reassuring on that. So that's the fear today in the minds of the students and parents, what really this pandemic would have an impact on. I'm sure that would have really brought in some enlightenment to them. Thank you so much, sir. So I would like to thank you for explaining so well about the evolution of communication technologies and the future in it. I'm sure it would have been a great source of motivation to all the high schoolers who are here with us today. They would have acquired clear insights on the type of opportunities in communication and also in adjoining industries. We thank you so much for joining us today amidst all your hectic schedules. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me here. As I said, unfortunately, I need to leave. So hopefully, I hope I have managed to give some insights that would help you in making the right choice for your career options. And I would like to give my best wishes